Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing well. And if you're a new viewer, welcome to Pie in the Sky Tours. I'm really excited to bring you this exclusive interview with both Matt and Jean-Luc, otherwise known as Mbucchia and CptLucky, from the OpenXR Toolkit developer team. Today we'll be discussing all things OpenXR Toolkit, as well as looking at current developments for this amazing tool. The runtime for this video is about 2 hours. We felt it was best to keep it as one video, as there was so much good information, and we really hope you enjoy it. And if you haven't tried it, check out my video linked above, which explains how it really does improve the VR experience in Microsoft Flight Simulator. And remember, this channel is the only channel to bring you exclusive content straight from the developers, so do subscribe to stay updated. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below and we'll get back to you. So without further ado, let's go to the interview. It's great to have you guys here. Could you tell us a bit about your background?
So I'm Matt, but people also know me as Mbucchia is the nickname I use online. I'm a software engineer with a background in embedded systems and but also gaming systems and virtual reality. I've worked for some companies that you might have heard of, like PlayStation, where I was part of the team that developed the original Project Morpheus. As you can see in the background, was the original name for PSVR. So I did a lot of really cool stuff for this PSVR product.
Cool.
Then after that, I took a little break from gaming and VR, and I worked in aerospace for a small company that you might have heard of. That's called SpaceX, where I worked on flight computers and embedded systems for Falcon 9 and the Dragon, the Crew Dragon spacecraft. That was also very, very fun.
Wow.
But then eventually, I went back into VR, and for the last year and a half now, I work for Microsoft. I'm working in the Windows Mixed Reality team, and more specifically in the OpenXR team. So what I like to say is I eat OpenXR for breakfast, for lunch, and with OpenXR Toolkit now, I also eat it for dinner. But it's really fun. This OpenXR Toolkit work, however, is not related to Microsoft. I'm doing it completely outside. But my team is really awesome, and they do encourage me and they do support me, and I'm also able to ask questions. And yeah, there is some of the goodness in OpenXR Toolkit that you can also thank my team at Microsoft for, because they did answer some of your questions and give me advice. That's it for me. I'm really happy to be here, Chris. Thanks very much, and looking forward to answering more of the community's questions.
That's awesome. Thanks so much, Matt. It's a great introduction. And Jean-Luc, tell us a bit more about yourself, please.
Yeah, hi, Chris. I'm very pleased actually to be here with you today as well, and for the opportunity to meet you all and to answer the questions of the community. Shortly, my background is actually development and software engineering and computer engineering, but my career has been totally different at the beginning. So I've been working in sales and business development, and ended up working in the Silicon Valley for a year. And from then on, actually, my second life actually has been Reality XP, which I founded 20 years ago, and for creating products, simulation products for the retail market, the consumer market, and the professional training market. So that's pretty much what I've been doing for the last 20 years, and that's pretty much it. More recently, actually, and especially in the context of the interview, I've been personally involved in using the VR technologies and discovering them and getting used to them and wanting to know more and exploring them, which led me to a series of articles I've published on the Flight Simulator forum, helping the others actually getting the most of their headset and setting, etc. Really as a personal side things, nothing related to Reality XP. And people enjoy that, and here we are today, actually. I'm much more personally involved, actually, with the OpenXR Toolkit in the VR world.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's really great. How did you guys get it started? Because I know, Matt, you said you were working on it as a team, but how did you guys kind of form the collaboration like you have?
Yes, that's let me go back. Let me go way back. We seem so far away now because we've spent so much time on OpenXR Toolkit, even though it's been such a short actual period of time. It's only been like 6 months when we think about it, but it feels like an eternity.
Yeah.
And it all started when I first really got involved with on the flight simulator official forum.
Yeah.
And I got involved in that for reason that, we had some users complaining about some crashes with Windows mixed reality and things like that. And so, I got my team involved in fixing those. And now it's working pretty great. But then as I got this forum reading the user feedback, I realized, hey, there's a lot of cool things that can be done with this product, with Flight Simulator. I am not a flight sim aficionado myself, but it's the top OpenXR app that's out there in terms of number of users.
Okay.
And yeah, when I started reading all the feedback on the forum, I had like tons of ideas of things that we could try to do to improve the experience for the users. Trying to think what really started it. I think the very, very first comment that hit me was from a user called Hyperjet 2018. And he was talking about, what if we could like adjust the FOV, the field of view on the image to have it like a little bit smaller, and that would give us a bit of extra performance. And when I read this message, I told myself, that should be pretty easy to do actually in OpenXR using this thing called OpenXR API layers.
Yeah.
But OpenXR API layer is just a little bit of software that you can put between your game, this API layer, and then the OpenXR runtime. And changing something like the FOV is just adjusting 4 little values. I'm like, this should be pretty easy to do. And I wanted to learn how to make an OpenXR API layer. I'd never done it before. So I just did it. And it took like just a few hours. And it turned out it kind of worked. And after that, I'm like, wow. So if this principle of the API layer works for this tiny little FOV change, there's so many more things that we can do. And I started looking at more requests on the forum. Another one was for the hand tracking from this user called Roman Design. And I'm like, wow, I mean, it would be really cool indeed to have the hand tracking in the game. So I took it like, okay, challenge accepted. Let's do it. I have an idea of how to do this with an API layer. And so I did it, and people got really excited about it. And this is a feature that today. It's in the OpenXR Toolkit. It's one of the most complex features, honestly, in the OpenXR Toolkit. But one great thing that came out of this prototype is that at some point, I'm like, okay, I kind of want to draw the hands so that people can see their hands in the game. And this was really the click game-changing moment because the moment I learned how to do rendering on top of the game, I realized, wow, okay, so all of these like performance tools, like doing the upscaling and doing the foveated rendering that you know of today, well, they can be done that way. Now that I know how to alter the way the rendering is working in the game. So on a Friday night, I'm like, okay, let's do something about it. People kept asking, hey, can you guys add FSR to your Windows Mixed Reality runtime? I'm like, that can be done with an API layer too.
Nice.
So I looked at some of this stuff from AMD and NVIDIA. And yeah, I got something working on a Friday night, like very late at night. And this was the thing that is now known as the NIS scaler, the original NIS scaler API layer. And the forum just blew up. I went to bed, I posted it, I went to bed like it was 2 in the morning. Get up, like, it just blew up like, oh, hey, this is crazy. Yeah, we really wanted this. It didn't really work like right off the bat, but tweaked it a little bit. And yeah, I think this is also the time where probably Jean-Luc noticed a little bit more my presence on this forum. And you reached out to me with, we started discussing, I think first you pointed out like a little issue in like my instructions. But then eventually we started talking some more, and I also remembered I know this name. I know this name because you had actually talked to my team at Microsoft before. So you're kind of known in my team. Because just like as you said, you have all of those threads on the forum. You also did have a few threads with my team at Microsoft on suggestions and recommendations and things like that.
See, I remember his settings posts. I remember that. There's like a long setting. Yeah, that was one of the first settings posts I actually read about it. Sorry, go on. I had to say that.
No, there's so many. There's so many indeed of those great posts.
Yeah.
And this actually brings, I think, to the first big one that you brought up, Jean-Luc.
Yeah,
which was
helps so many people.
The world scale. I remember. Yeah, I'm trying to remember what did you say, but it's super easy to do, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
and in practice, it was easy to do.
Yeah, we started thinking about, hey, it looks like this would be pretty easy to do. And then I think your other feedback was, well, but if you manage to do NIS, like the NVIDIA scaling, you can probably do FSR too. And I'm pretty sure I responded something to you like, hey, I'm too lazy to do that. Which is an answer that most people in the community probably start to hear from me, like, oh, I'm too lazy to do that. But then you picked it up. And, from there, maybe you can tell about your experience when, you really started working on your own on the source code on the project.
Yeah, great. That's really great. Actually, I remember you were starting to ask questions on the forum after you posted your first layer, and I remember because there was a lot of questions you were asking, and people were traveling or not finding the answers actually, and I knew those answers were already posted somewhere on the forum because I was spending some time on the forum for a year, or more than a year. So I linked you to those questions a lot, and hey, there's already this, that, those, and one of those effectively was the IPD question, and hey, look, it's very easy. We just have to do this, and we tried it out. Actually, it was quite easy. Yeah, I jumped in the project. Actually, I feel like it was so natural. Actually, we connected, talked, discussed, and actually we're both French originally, so I'm not saying it's easier, but it just helps. And we grow. Actually, we exchange a lot of ideas and exchange. Hey, what about this? What about that? And we naturally also, I find that we naturally split actually somehow the work on the OpenXR Toolkit. Mathieu has a lot of strength actually on many domains. He's the project coordinator and has delivered a lot of work actually on OpenXR, much more than me. Whereas there are some other domains that I prefer doing, or I prefer doing research and development and spending time. And that fit quite naturally, I find, between both our strengths working on that project. So that is really working harder and faster than me, definitely, on the OpenXR Toolkit. I'm quite amazed, actually. Sometimes you just pull up something, in a matter of a couple of hours. I would have spent probably 2 days, and yeah, it's quite amazing. Actually.
Fast worker. You guys, it's good you guys bounce off each other, don't you? You've got different strengths, right? So it kind of works well together, doesn't it? It seems that you're saying.
We're very complementary, I feel.
Yeah.
Because like as you said, so as I started, I had like all the OpenXR knowledge, and you didn't have it, even though now like you've learned like a lot through the project. But then one thing that I lack is I'm a low-level systems engineer. Like what I do normally is things like operating system drivers and embedded system firmware. And like in my team at Microsoft, I do low-level things like interfacing with the GPU. I don't do graphics. If you ask me tomorrow, hey man, can you like write a game engine that's gonna have like lighting technologies and like super fancy drawing? I don't know how to do that. I don't have like the skill set of. I'm getting there, but I don't have the skill set of really the artistic of the graphics and. However, you do, And all of these posts, that on the forum, you're detailing very precisely and in a lot of details. How does it work? How does the human eye perceive the thing that your monitor or the panel in the VR headset is showing, and how some of these technologies are implemented at the graphics API level? And I don't know how to do that. So that's why, things that you've added recently, like the sunglasses, I would not be able to do that.
I love that. I love that.
I know a lot of OpenXR, but that's almost where it ends. So certainly very, very complementary.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
But
That's
learning
important.
from each other.
Yeah, that's good though, isn't it? I mean, you're learning from each other and working together like that and different
Definitely.
strengths. That's great. That's what you want, isn't it? Really.
Really, and actually, learning, has been a process. I'm certainly mature. I know because we've discussed, but in my career and even doing Reality XP for 20 years, learning every day. Actually, research and development and technological surveys are daily.
Yeah.
On a lot of subjects. Actually, you have to get accustomed to the new technologies, how things are doing, how the industry is evolving as well.
Yeah.
And it's been that's been quite a good fit so far, and I'm hoping for longer. We have a lot of fun, and we're not doing this for just as a personal side project, and having a lot of fun doing it. Actually, really a lot of fun, and we're really also very, very pleased actually that the users are really benefiting from it. Because it's a game changer for many people actually that were limited by their hardware or the software they were using, and being able to let them enjoy and immerse themselves in VR. And thanks to the OpenXR Toolkit is a win actually for everyone. And we're very pleased actually the feedback we get and the suggestions, the idea, the involvement of the communities.
Yeah.
Tremendous.
All right.
What's really good, by the way, about what Jean-Luc said, and I forgot to mention in the backstory, is the fun part. I guess I said, when I started looking into this project, it was because of the user request. But the reality of it was a little bit selfish. It was for my fun. It's like, wouldn't it be really fun to add this specific and like learn how this upscaling works, and again learn how the API layer works. And it's just been really fun, and that's why I'm happy to do it on my free time. And indeed, I think that the response from the users is just feeding that fun even more. And that's why the project is still alive, because we're continuing to have fun.
Yeah, you're so passionate about it, right? And it really comes through that you're passionate about it. I think that's a massive thing. That's the motivation, is it, for you as well, to be passionate and to share this with other people. And really, it's such a help. It's been it's really boosted everyone's VR experience in that sim, I think. So moving on to the OpenXR Toolkit, it seems you've had 2 big performance enhancing tools for VR so far. Is there anything else just as groundbreaking in the works to improve our VR performance?
We've really addressed all of the low-hanging fruits of the technology that was available out there.
Okay.
The upscaling and the foveated rendering, I think we've pushed those pretty much as far as we can. I mean, there is, like DLSS, FSR 2.0, but, Sopa is going to take care of that. So I don't think we're going to push in that direction. In terms of performance enhancing now, I don't really think there's anything that we can add until there's either like a new GPU that comes out with a new feature. We can continue to do some optimizations in our code. And Jean-Luc is actually really, really great at this, because he was saying that there's a lot of the code that was spun up very quickly, and that is not the best that it could be. So I know Jean-Luc is working on some optimizations there, especially with GPU memory utilization that should be reduced, and things that we did like very quickly to show, hey, we can do this upscaling, we can do this foveated rendering, and we're going to clean it up a little bit later. So there will be some optimizations there, but nothing as groundbreaking. We're certainly open for the community to give their input. Like we don't know all the technologies out there. Until some user on the forum asked, "Hey, can you integrate FSR?" I had no idea what FSR was.
Oh, I see. Okay, that's good. So the community is
So,
giving you ideas, right? And giving you, yeah, I see what you mean.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you know, if you see something, certainly bring it up. I think we've already addressed some of those, like DLSS FSR 2.0, and the fact that they're just not easily doable.
Yeah.
And again, Asobo will take care of those for us. I mean, for them. But yeah, I think there's some more that we can bring in terms of non-performance features, in terms of quality of visuals, and also integration of devices that we're going to look into.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't think these will really bring up a lot of performance. One thing more general, not to OpenXR Toolkit, but I also like to talk about how so OpenXR is a very, very new standard that was ratified just a couple of years ago. And what you have to understand in terms of the platforms that are out there is that those platforms that are out there, Windows Mixed Reality, even the Oculus One, they existed even before this OpenXR happened. And what's happening is OpenXR was added as a layer on top of the existing platform, which is not generally the most effective way to do something that is high performance and optimized. The best way is to build your platform from the ground up using those concepts that are brought up with OpenXR. So what I expect more than just like the GPU optimizations in the future is the fact that new VR products are going to be built, new VR platforms are going to be built with OpenXR in mind, and they will talk more directly to the rest of the operating system. There will not be any intermediate layers in between, and this will bring some performance improvements, just again by making sure that it is designed with OpenXR in mind.
So part of the foundation of it, right?
Is here to stay.
Yeah, okay. That's interesting, yeah. So it's part of the foundation of the program rather than like a layer within it, right?
It really shouldn't be implemented as layers on top of existing technology. It should be built from the ground up with OpenXR. But since OpenXR happened later,
I see.
The platforms currently out on the market are not making the most beneficial use out of it. But the next generation definitely will, because it will be built around OpenXR, around how to make application use OpenXR the most effectively, instead of OpenXR being an add-on to your OS that is not doing things perhaps in the most efficient way.
Do you think that next generation you're talking about is, how far away do you think that is though? Like in the next 5 years, within the next 5 years or so, or it's hard to say.
I don't know. It's really up to every vendor. One thing that's really great is that all of the key vendors are very active in OpenXR working group. So we're all working on that. I have a meeting with the OpenXR group like every Thursday, and all the big players are there, getting really involved with the other vendors, the industry, and bringing the best technology. As for a timeline, I really don't know. I think it's going to depend on every vendor. Every vendor is going to find what is the time for them to overhaul their platform and build it on top of OpenXR rather than like surgically put OpenXR in the platform. One more thing to add about this features for performance and for quality is that because OpenXR Toolkit is implemented outside of the game, we also have a limited reach in what we can do. Here's a great example that relates to the foveated rendering. There's like many things you can do with foveated rendering in terms of, again, making sure that you get the best clarity where you're looking at. Today we're using one technology, which is the one that reduces the number of pixels being rasterized, so being drawn outside of these circles that you can define. But there's all kinds of other things that game developers can do to take advantage of a feature like foveated rendering. For example, they can do something that's called like the dynamic geometry, which is that not only we reduce the number of pixels being drawn outside of in the periphery of your eyes, but we can also reduce the number of things done, the number of objects, the level of detail dynamically. And this is where you can get a lot of performance. This is when I hear, hey, people are talking about PSVR2 for heated rendering. Well, I'm sure they don't just do the pixel optimization. I'm sure they also do some geometry optimization. The problem with these geometry optimizations is they are completely out of reach for OpenXR Toolkit, because we cannot control what is the level of detail inside the game in this cone of what your eye sees. We cannot control that for any game. This has to be done in the game. So yes, for OpenXR Toolkit, I think we've reached like a kind of a hard limit until there's new technology with new GPUs. But for game developers, there's still a lot of room on things that they can do with some effort, some significant effort sometimes. So it doesn't come for free, but there is still some room there for them.
Okay, excellent.
And I'd like to add on top of what Mathieu just said, that actually the very fact that we implemented it in the OpenXR Toolkit with the limited reach we have might be also, and pun intended, an eye-opener for some game developers to invest probably more time and to explore those technologies for their own game, actually, and see how it can benefit the user in terms not only performance, but also in terms of user interfaces, for example. One thing you can do, which is very cool with eye tracking, is interacting with the user interface with your eyes, and not having to have a mouse or a controller for some features, for example. And this can help also. This could be used as an assistive device for people with some impairments or whatever they are. And probably with eye tracking, they can trigger things in a game that they couldn't trigger naturally with a mouse or a controller, for example, for them. So however it's going to be explored by others, the fact we have implemented it in OpenXR Toolkit the way we did actually might be also an eye-opener, and we're very glad actually contributing to that somehow. And I know actually I'm evangelizing other developers around me as well to consider eye tracking and foveated rendering and all those cool new interfaces. Lately, Valve has announced, actually they have announced this for a year, a little bit more than a year, their new initiative to collectively sample, I would say, your emotions through brain, face, sweat, temperature, whatever it is, a lot of sensors in a headset. And they have announced the initiative more than a year ago. Because of the pandemic, it took a toll, but lately the project is being really active, actually. The beta testing is starting. They are shipping, or actually the pre-order for the headsets have started as well. And that's very exciting because that opens up different interfaces than just the mouse and the controller.
Yeah.
So it's
that sounds interesting. Even more things to think about, even more aspects of the VR experience, I guess. Yeah, definitely have a game. Imagine your game reacting to your emotions. Yeah,
that's fantastic.
And and your body temperature and stuff.
Headset. Exactly. Imagine a pilot in a simulator.
Yeah.
You're wearing the headset, you're looking at him and he's scared. Or you're scared and
we're going down. Oh, that's cool. That'd be amazing.
An immersion experience.
Yeah, definitely. I didn't even think of that. Cool. Okay.
So many things, actually.
Yeah. That's awesome. As we all know, the big question is NIS versus FSR. Which is best and why?
Okay, let me try to answer that. First of all, because let's just say NIS is a NVIDIA technology and FSR is an AMD technology, but regardless of whose technology is it's made from, actually it works equivalent to regardless if you have an AMD or NVIDIA card. So the real differentiator won't be whether you have this or this manufacturer video card. It will be much more in terms of pixel quality and rendering. There is a slight difference, not much, between NIS and FSR in terms of quality of pixel. Personally, I find that NIS is a little bit more synthetic looking, artificially looking, and FSR probably a little bit more natural. And NIS has much more sharpened power than FSR. So, but sometimes can be over sharpening. So it really boils down to each own preferences and eyes and panels, and probably different headsets probably give different results as well, depending on the panel resolution you have in your headset. But globally, the feedback we get from users is that quite by a huge margin, the one most used by people, much more than NIS so far. But those technologies are very nascent and they are evolving every time. Actually, they publish some updates from time to time. And when they do, we evaluate the update and we incorporate into our OpenXR Toolkit. And lately, AMD has also announced a new version, FSR.2. And this is a totally different kind of technology. So it's very important as well to differentiate the two. FSR 1 or 1.0 is an upscaling technology. So it takes a final image actually that you will display and upscale this image to a higher resolution, but it does so intelligently so that the quality is not lost, or actually it adds some quality sometimes. FSR2 is a different kind of technology. It is meant to be integrated into the game itself in the rendering pipeline. And to explain it simply, it's basically a TAA anti-aliasing algorithm. So people using a flight simulator, for example, are used to that TAA acronym, and that's the anti-aliasing technology implemented in a game, which consists basically in comparing different frames over time and accumulating them for refining the details. So basically, that's the approach of that technology. FSR 2.0 is the very same. It does the very same. And the advantage is that they do so, but in a better way than traditional TAA is implemented usually in the game industry. So they have improved actually on the TAA algorithms in the pixel sharpening or quality of whatever they do actually in the algorithms. And the other advantage is that they provide game developers with a ready-made library, a toolbox, I would say, where you can plug your own game logic into. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can reuse that as a library of functions to realize TAA, sharpening, upscale, etc., in a more streamlined and easy way. That's basically the difference between FSR1 and FSR2, different technologies. So people are asking for FSR2 in the OpenXR Toolkit. I'm sorry, but it cannot be, it's not the place actually to put that kind of technology. It's much more something early on in the rendering pipeline into the game. So we know that Microsoft is working, Asobo is implementing FSR 2.0, I guess, in the future update. They mentioned that in the Q&A. And other game developers are starting to ship games today with FSR 2.0 with very good results, actually. It's working really good so far. All that I've seen actually shows it's a very good technology they're offering right now. So it's good, yeah. So back to your initial question, NIS, FSR, really personal preferences. Most users prefer FSR in the VR world for flight simulation. And probably NIS is much more for other kind of games, probably.
Okay, that's great advice, because it's been a often asked question, isn't it? Which one shall we use? And I always sort of tend to say, it's personal preference. Matt, do you want to add something to that? Yeah.
I kind of wanted to just say that NVIDIA and AMD, they're doing a really good job with this technology. There used to be a time where if you wanted to integrate this sort of rendering techniques into your application, you had to go and read the literature about it and understand like the very low level, how to write like pixel shaders and integrate them into yours. And it was very complicated. But both NVIDIA and AMD, they've done a really good job at making these solutions very easy to integrate. When I talked about how the project started, I talked about the NIS one, it took like an evening like, to integrate it because NVIDIA really provided awesome support in their sample that I could literally grab the thing, put it in my API layer, and it just worked. And FSR with Jean-Luc, I think, has been a similar experience, maybe a little bit more complicated because their sample used a more complex engine. But yeah, they're doing a great job at putting those out with good documentation, making it easy for developers. DLSS also fairly easy to integrate. The problem with all of these then after is the tweaking. It's one thing to put it in your game, but then tweak all of the input parameters so that it looks the best. Especially with DLSS, is probably like the hardest part. Making sure that everything lines up properly in the timing of what you give to the algorithm. But yeah, really kudos to both vendors on these because it's really pleasant technologies to use.
Excellent. Okay, so it makes your job.
I just wanted to add, and Mathieu is right. It has been very fast actually to integrate in the OpenXR Toolkit both NIS and FSR, grabbing the source code, putting it in ours, and matching it and making it all working. What took a longer time though, even with those technologies, has been to tweak and to adjust it. Even NIS and FSR, we spent tremendous time with Matt actually finding out the best formats, the color formats actually to use, whether we do this or that to make it look right. I spent a considerable amount of hours actually trying to make it even better, and with shader code, for eliminating banding and gradients and stuff like that showed up actually, and until we find the final recipe that works for VR in our toolkit, and that has been much more hours actually tweaking than integrating. Definitely.
Okay. It's been your hours, by the way. Like you have to take all the credit
that's
for
true.
I didn't do much. And
one cool thing actually.
Yeah, no, it's good. The way you put it is good. I can understand what you're saying. That's good. Interesting. Okay, so what about this? This is the big question that a lot of people want to ask you is, will DX12 improve anything for VR and the OpenXR Toolkit? And if yes, can you elaborate? I know it's a big question.
Yeah, that's a tough question actually, because it's not, it's not really Manichaean. It's not white and black or good or bad. But DX12 definitely is a very good technology, a very good API, actually allowing getting much more of your hardware in the sense that it really helps for the throughput and multi-threading to exploit the maximum cores and the maximum of your GPU. Now, in relation to VR and OpenXR, how could this help? Everything helping the rendering is definitely helping in the end. So whatever you can do to accelerate or raise the throughput and the number of pixels you can push per frame is always good. In terms of OpenXR Toolkit, there's no difference. We already support DX12 and DX11, and with the very same architecture and without any specific, without any difference in terms of performance between the two from the OpenXR Toolkit perspective and layer. So that doesn't change much for us in terms of layer and performance, obviously. It's much more something which makes a dramatic difference the game or application point level. For example, Flight Simulator, they say last QA that their DirectX 12 implementation is roughly 20% lower in performance from their DX11, and but they're raising it and they're trying to make both equal. Another example I really know about is X-Plane. X-Plane used to be OpenGL, and they invested a lot of research and development and time in bringing that platform to Vulkan. And Vulkan is like DirectX 12, it's a very modern API, GPU API, that allows exploiting the multi-threading and multi-core and all the silicon you have in your system, and has been tremendously benefiting X-Plane performance, Vulkan. And X-Plane 12, which is coming up later, maybe this year or next year, we don't know yet officially. X-Plane 12 actually is fully and solely Vulkan. There's no longer any OpenGL in there. And they're pushing the GPU even further thanks to the API, Vulkan API, that allows them to really exploit now all the cores you have on your system, which they couldn't do as much before in Explain 11.
Yeah.
So DirectX 12 in itself is much more has much more dramatic impact on the game or application than the OpenXR Toolkit, definitely. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, Matt?
I was saying there's one myth I kind of want to address though regarding DirectX 12, Vulkan, and these technologies. These technologies will enable the game developers to take better advantage of the system, the CPU and the GPU. But just because game developer is going to use DirectX 12 or Vulkan doesn't mean by definition they will get better performance. They're going to need to work for it. They're going to need to revise their strategy for how their engine is doing the rendering so that it takes advantage of these new functionality in DirectX 12. And I'm not just talking about some of the features that are only available on DirectX 12. Like, for example, we know on AMD, you can only do VRS, which is the foundation of the foveated rendering. This is only available for DirectX 12 on AMD. So certainly game developers, they need to start adding these functionality into their game. But more than that, they need to rethink how they're interfacing with the graphics API, because I can make very easily a DirectX 12 application today that will be lower performance than a DirectX 11 application if I don't think about what it means to use DirectX 12. It's a very different way of programming the GPU that is actually very complex, that is very close to the hardware. And if you don't use it properly, you will not get better results. So the myth is, when I hear people, hey, we want DirectX 12, we want Vulkan. No, you should ask, we want good DirectX 12 and we want good Vulkan.
Yeah.
We don't just want you to stamp the technology, the number, hey, we support it. We want you to actually do the work that might be very, very complex to overhaul your game engine to properly use it. So it does not come for free. It's not just, you can't just snap your finger. It does not come for free. It is complex for game developers.
Okay, so it's a different way of working, isn't it, as well?
Yes,
definitely. It's a different paradigm, actually, in terms of API. It's a really different paradigm. It gives you access to the very lowest bits of the interface between your code and the GPU. So you can leverage, in leveraging, I would say that lower level, you can finely tune and finely grainly schedule your GPU commands and everything you want to interact with in order to get the most of it. So, but it's very easy as well to make it wrong or to make it badly and to lose performance, like Matt said. If you're thinking like DirectX 11, working with DirectX 12, yeah, sure, you won't exploit the benefit. You won't get the benefit of it, and probably it will be effectively less performing. So you really have that, like they say in in the movies or Marvel, with great power comes great responsibility, and that's really true, actually.
Yeah, I can see what you mean now.
But it's more involving. It's really more involving.
Is it more time consuming?
Yeah.
To write code for this?
Yeah. Okay.
Season developer. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
The bugs get really, really much weirder. It's probably like the most time-consuming part of it, because when you think about DirectX 11, it's a very sequential thing. You tell the GPU what to do, and it kind of does it in order.
Yeah.
So whenever there's a problem, you can kind of trace what step the problem happened. DirectX 12 is you just submit commands. You don't know when they're going to be executed unless you pay really close attention. And so you can get things happening at a time where you had no idea it was going to happen. And then whenever you see a bug, you can't just trace back the steps of when it happened. It's just like, whoa, something is happening out of order. And using some old memory, some old image from like previous render pass. And this can... There's an infinite number of combination of things that can go wrong. So that's why it's more time consuming, because it is very, very much harder to debug.
Yeah.
But there's some great tools too. But yeah, great tech. Definitely
Okay.
looking forward to see what game developers are going to do.
Yeah.
It's really fun and interesting to learn.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
And
Cool.
actually, we can relate that to the OpenXR Toolkit when we implemented the support for DirectX 11 and 12. And actually, Matthew did the bulk of the work. It was clear that a number of constructs pertaining to dealing with the GPU, even on the OpenXR Toolkit, required actually some changes and some fine-tuning for scheduling some of the commands or writing to the buffers and stuff like that we're handling. We did have some moments actually of carefully tuning the things for making it working like expected actually. So yeah, it was a little bit more involving on some very finely grained aspects.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting actually.
Yeah.
The shift in technology.
Yeah, it's fascinating to listen to you guys talk about it as well. I didn't realize, how different these different systems are. It's really cool.
Ours actually, and probably related to one of your previous questions when we met, but something that happened actually that probably loved at the beginning much more than now is we had a lot of brainstorming, spending hours chatting and exchanging and talking until sometimes you spend hours writing like that, and all of a sudden, oh yeah, Eureka, this is how we can do this,
Yeah.
And we came up, a lot of good ideas actually came up from our discussions with Matthew and I, definitely. So, no, you spend a lot of hours too, definitely with me, helping a lot.
One thing I really want to add, because you need to really take credit for that, is you did report a handful of bugs to NVIDIA and to AMD regarding their SDK for NIS and FSR, and they were like legit bugs. So again, like this is really impressive. To be able to go into a vendor's very high tech SDK, find problems and report them. Really, you did really great job. This is impressive.
That's awesome. Well done. Nice. So this goes on to the next question. What was the most fun feature to write?
I guess I'll say probably the eye tracking for the forbidden rendering was the most fun for like many aspects. But in a way, it was also like kind of frustrating at first because we did not have neither Jean-Luc nor me, we had a headset with eye tracking. But people kept asking like, hey, it would be really cool to have the eye tracking on the Varjo Aero. I kept saying like, I want to do it. I love a challenge. So let's just give it a try. I had no idea how we were going to do this because we did not have a headset. But so I started looking into how the eye tracking worked in OpenXR. And one of the reasons why I love OpenXR is it's a very consistent standard. And so I started looking, okay, if I don't have eye tracking, I can simulate the eye gaze, so the vector that your eye is looking at using a controller. And this is actually how the eye tracking in OpenXR Toolkit was developed. Was with a controller. I would wear my headset. And I would use the controller to simulate the eye movement.
Okay, that's cool.
And eventually, I worked with Micah, who's one of our beta tester who has Varjo Aero, and we were sending him build like, hey, how does it look? Does it actually follow your eye properly? And it was like many back and forth because it was always kind of off.
It's hard to get that
finally,
it's hard to replicate the movement, right? It's like
it's not just that. It's hard to get it right. But as I was saying earlier, in terms of like strength, I'm a system guy. I had to do some math for that, some mathematics, some arithmetic, some like finding the right formula to project the ray onto the virtual panel. And I'm like terrible at this. It's so small. In the end, it's like 15 lines of code. But yeah, with Micah, we went back and forth. So I remember asking Jean-Luc too, and we were like equally like confused on why does it not work? It should work.
Yeah.
And so eventually we did back and forth with Micah. It was really been super instrumental in developing this feature. Because not only he would tell us if it works or not, but he would give us like super detailed feedback. Like, hey, he would take videos. This is how much off it is. This is what the motion is like. You have to describe, this is where I'm looking at right now, because
imagine, right?
you can't tell that from the video.
Because you can't say, it's true.
It was kind of frustrating up to a point, because I was like, I don't think I'm ever going to be able to get the math right. But we eventually got something working. And then the really fun part about this one too is, so the moment we had the eye tracking working, I tell Jean-Luc, oh, well, it's working, but the CPU utilization is like terrible.
Next
and
problem.
Instantly it's like, oh, that's cool. I know how to fix that. I know how to fix that. You did not know,
nice.
But you said later. But you got ideas that were like very. I was like, there's no way I can get that working. Moving into a compute shader, and that was one of the fun thing about this project, is that I kicked off the eye tracking. You did the super essential performance work. Micah did amazing amount of testing. You, Chris, you worked with him also to make the video. To showcase it, which was really awesome. And by the time we're making this video, I realized there is no AAA application of games out there that is using this technology, that is doing actual foveated rendering with eye tracking. And I was like,
that's exciting.
That's exciting. Did we just like make like a really big first? There's like all kinds of like demos of like, hey, look how cool this tech could be. There's no real game like to the level of Flight Simulator that's doing it. And I think this is what added like the last bit of fun. It was awesome collaboration, awesome technology, and being able to say, hey, we've done something that's pretty much not out there, and it's working pretty well. I think I haven't experienced it with the Aero. I've experienced this with the Omnicept, which is also pretty good. But yeah, to me that was definitely my favorite like collaboration. Coming up with solving a hard problem with hard constraint of not having the hardware, and really innovative way to solve the performance issue from Jean-Luc.
I remember you didn't have the eye tracking. I remember you were talking on the Discord about like moving the controller around. That was funny. And then we went back and forth. That was good.
But it's very I joined mine completely. It's probably is right. It's been the most fun, and seeing how those collaborations folded together. Actually, all the bits and pieces needed, all coming together at the right time and progressing to that result. Actually, and but don't have too fast. Actually, for the tracking with the controller, because actually we discussed a lot with Matt about that. I wanted to make that a feature in the OpenXR Toolkit for people without eye tracking. So I experimented with it prior and to see whether with people using their controllers for interaction, if we follow that controller with the very same technology we're using for gaze tracking, would it be providing actually something working in practice? And I found out my limited test with it so far that probably there is something there. That is, you could probably, because when you're using your controller, usually you're looking at it. So your attention, your focus is on your hand, on the controller actually. So in exactly doing the very same thing we did with the controller as a test device, but in a practical feature, maybe there's something out there for people without eye tracking. So we're not done yet with that controller and the eye tracking.
It's still a work in progress, right?
It's hidden in the current version, I think. Like there's the debug option is there and it's hidden.
Exactly.
But we still need to come up with the right way.
I'm sorry, Matt. I will add to what you said as well that we've been also getting a lot of support and help from the headset manufacturers. I would like to thank Varjo actually that lent me actually an arrow for finalizing the implementation of the eye tracking in the OpenXR Toolkit with an actual device to test it out. And it has been really, it would have been impossible without the headset. To finalize the feature, definitely. So there is you have the arrow just behind me.
Yeah, we can see it. Yeah, nice. It's a great headset.
Really supportive and a very great headset with all the technologies there is in it.
So speaking of partnerships, what other partnerships do you currently have?
OpenXR Toolkit has bring a lot of excitement, and Jean-Luc and I, we spent a lot of our time on it. We were fortunate that some vendors have offered us support. The very first vendor that came to me was actually Ultraleap. I don't know if you remember in the story, I said, hey, the hand tracking is almost what started it all. Quickly on the Flight Sim forum, one of the rep from Ultraleap came to me and, hey, this is really cool. I'm glad you did this to showcase the capability. So they sent me a device. They sent me this stereo IR dev kit, which is their like super state of the art device for for hand tracking. Sorry, for hand tracking, and yeah, I've been using it since to do some improvements. So really, thank you to Ultraleap. Another one, the vendor that we're working with right now is Pimax, and Pimax. I have to say a big thank to the community for that. There's a lot of people on the Discord, even on Reddit, and on the forum that kept calling out like the Pimax folk, hey, look at what these folks are doing with OpenXR Toolkit. It would be really great to send them a device. And so thanks to everybody who pushed for it. Nice. We have an agreement with Pimax now, and they provided me with an 8KX this week, which is right here sitting behind me.
Nice.
It's a really great device, and I'm having a lot of fun with it so far. So yeah, I'm really glad to be able to experience different headsets, because otherwise I was limited to Windows Mixed Reality. So yeah, thanks to Pimax for their contribution here. On the non-vendor side, there is also a couple of collaborations that I want to point out. And the first one of them is the folks from Open Composite. So Open Composite is this bit of software that will allow you to run your Open VR games. So the games that are specifically designed to work with the Steam VR set of APIs and not OpenXR. It allows you to take some of these games, not all of them are supported, but a bunch of really good ones are. And so you put this Open Composite software and it will make those games talk to OpenXR instead. And the moment you say talk to OpenXR, it's great because then we can go and put OpenXR Toolkit in the picture as well. And you can start benefiting on these games. So DCS is one of the big one. Automobilista 2 was just released with support for Open Composite. And now you can pull in OpenXR Toolkit and get some of the improvements of OpenXR Toolkit with these games. And I'm talking to the developer, Java, pretty much every day. He's a really awesome developer who's done huge effort in bringing this Open Composite to OpenXR to life. And we've been bouncing up ideas, answering questions on how it works. And recently, he's even made some changes and improvement to OpenXR Toolkit itself to support some of these OpenXR Toolkit features with Open Composite. So really happy with this collaboration. Cool, and looking forward to more of it. And one more project that I want to call out is Open Kneeboard, which is not really for a flight simulator, though it can be used for certain aspect of flight simulator. It's another OpenXR API layer that you can put in between your game and OpenXR, and that lets you bring in some content inside your game. Like you can open like PDFs and have them on this like virtual pad. I think it also supports things like the little devices where you can just write and you can see instantly showing on your screen. So talking to this developer regularly, and he's done a really awesome job in supporting OpenXR. And this is really exciting to see more people considering OpenXR for their projects, for their add-ons, for their products. And I'm super happy to go and answer all questions about this. And I have a bunch of tutorials. We regularly also with Jean-Luc point them out to OpenXR Toolkit. Hey, how is this done in OpenXR Toolkit? You can go and copy the code. We don't care. This is open source. We literally do that for that purpose to raise awareness and have people be able to learn from it. And another one that I think is in the pipe right now is the VR Next Safer. Developer is working on an OpenXR API layer that will allow you to bring this in OpenXR. We're also talking to them pretty regularly and answering some of his questions. So it's really great to see this ecosystem grow. And beyond vendors and software, we did talk a little bit about Varjo before when Jean-Luc was talking about the foveated rendering. So yes, they have provided us with a loaner device for Jean-Luc, which has been really helpful. And on top of that collaboration, that contribution, they gave us some hardware. We've also worked with Remy, which is who's their lead architect on the OpenXR side. And I talk to him in this OpenXR working group like pretty much every week because he's very active there with Varjo. And he started a blog post that he invited Jean-Luc and I to contribute to, where we explained about the foveated rendering and how we implemented it. That was really fun to see that published.
And I'll leave a link for that in the description so people can see that.
Yeah, it's a very interesting article because it goes deep into the various aspects of the human vision system and the technologies implemented in the solution. And Mathieu and I detail a little bit of our implementation and the things we have dealt with, to make it happen.
Okay,
and,
good. Sounds good.
So yeah, it's quite fantastic actually. I was listening to what Matt said, and actually what thing's striking is that OpenXR is an API meant for federating different technologies and different applications together, different ways. And what we see, what you can observe is that beyond the technology, which is federating other technologies, it is also federating people and projects. And look how easy it is to bring those projects together and make them work together, thanks to OpenXR. Yeah. So I think it's a game changer in terms of API for VR compared to what used to be before. And yeah, it's very, very exciting to contribute to that ecosystems, whatever we can, however we can. And we're very pleased to do so, obviously. Yeah, I have a lot of fun, always fun.
Yeah.
And but Mathieu is right. Varjo has been a good contribution for helping us finalizing the details on the eye tracking and foveated rendering, and this is all explained in the article. So
excellent.
Go read it. It's
yeah, definitely worth it. Okay, guys. So yeah, definitely follow that link and check that article out. I'm sure I'll be doing that straight after this video. I think.
And to finish, there's one more very important partner that I want to thank again, and it's you, Chris, for being with us pretty much from the beginning. I remember when I released the NIS scaler, you made a video. It was a very good one. And then we got to talk, and yeah, I realized it would be a great partnership to have you continue to talk about the future of this product. And I'm really, really happy with our collaboration. And thanks again for helping the community and helping us advertise and get people to know about OpenXR Toolkit. And today, to get people to know about us. Which I'm also really excited for everybody to go and enjoy that. So thank you, Chris.
Thanks so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, thanks. Guys, I really appreciate what you've done for the community, and I just love to sort of celebrate it, use what my strengths are with the video editing and stuff, and I think it's a really good thing, and it's great to collaborate with you guys, so thanks for that. Appreciate that. Yes.
Well, because from a development standpoint, what was hard, what we do is always hard, actually.
Yeah.
You always have to learn. You always have to find solutions and new ways of doing and optimizing things. And that's the process. That's our job. That's the job of developing something. So in itself, sometimes it's easier, sometimes it's harder, but it's not an overwhelming challenge in itself. It's part of the fun too, actually, really.
There's two things that I can think of. And one is related to what you said, which is indeed the time. Ensure the time to accommodate our jobs and our lives. But also, one that's really difficult is knowing that there are lots of things that we can do, so little time, and being able to prioritize what we think has the best value for the users, and also the things that we want to do. And kind of the risk associated with that. So yeah, that's probably the most difficult aspect of time for me is, hey, there's all kinds of features or projects that I want to work on, but at the end of the day, it's not realistic. We need to focus on the ones that will also yield the most fun, because it still has to be fun in the end. Like we said, this is one of our main driver. But what will the user like the most and benefit the most? And it's sometimes very hard to balance all this. I know for the past few months, I've been really wanting, just for the sake of the fun and learning, to work on DLSS stuff. But I also know that, hey, there's lots of other things in OpenXR Toolkit that we can do that will yield better outcome, because anyway, Asobo is going to add DLSS. So it's been hard for me to kind of hold myself back on continuing to work on that DLSS prototype. But at the same time, when it's going to be done in the game, it's probably going to be way better done than if we did it in the OpenXR Toolkit. So I'm not too disappointed here. But yeah, no, all kinds of other ideas coming that I want to spend time on. Other challenge, which I think we're starting to get really, really much better at, especially now with our partners, is the hardwares that we don't have, and some of the weird bugs that are specific to a headset or specific to a given user configuration. And there's a lot of good anecdotes about this, actually. I've already talked about how we developed the favicted rendering without the Varjo, using the controller. That was fun. But, it was kind of a, hey, if we can't make it work, it's too bad. We can't have this awesome feature, but it's not at least stopping users. But we've had cases where it was really you can't fail situation. Very, very first day of the release of OpenXR Toolkit, I remember same thing, like late night, I think, like posted the thing like super late at night before going to bed. Wake up in the morning, it doesn't work. And it was not working for AMD users. And we were having this long thread on Discord with Jean-Luc, and we kind of like stared at each other about, I don't have any AMD card. You don't have any AMD card.
Yeah.
I don't know what can be wrong. I don't know what we're going to do about that. Am I going to go and buy like an AMD card right now? Because I have all these users that are
waiting, right?
Excited to try this. Yeah. And I have to say that we accomplished something kind of crazy that day, because yes, we released the night before. We got all of those AMD users. Hey, it's not working. We brainstormed on Discord for like hours. What can it be? Like reviewing like aspects of the code until like we had one of those eureka moments. Hey, this sounds a little bit fishy, even though I don't see why it would be a problem, but why not? Let's try that. And yeah, I think within the day we had prototype, a bunch of experiments, and a fixed. We had really awesome feedback from users. I remember being on the public Discord. When I say Discord, I mean you and I Discord, Jean-Luc, like talking, brainstorming.
Yeah.
But eventually we took it to the public one, and we're like, okay, anybody wants to try this real quick? And yeah, we have users jumping in like, oh yeah, sure, I'll try it. Oh, this is working a little bit better. No, this is not working any better.
Yeah.
Until we finally find the right thing. And like within 24 hours, we had solved a showstopper bug on a piece of hardware we don't even have. And honestly, I was very impressed that day with the fact that we did that, and that we could again brainstorm and find those nitty gritty bugs. And there's so many other like stories like this one. The Varjo initial support is also one of these that took like longer. Initially, Varjo did not work with OpenXR Toolkit for a long time.
I remember you were saying that. I remember we were chatting. I'm like, any luck? He's like, no, it takes longer. It takes longer. Next week, the weeks goes by. No, nothing, right? Yeah, I remember that.
Yep. And you know, like, how are we going to even like figure this out without a headset?
Yeah. I mean, it's like, yeah.
And we investigated so many things. And I think you had the eureka moment, actually, Jean-Luc, because you went where I did not want to go, which is you asked people to give them the Varjo base log, like the Varjo system log. And indeed, there was some weird messages in there that like completely turned on a light. Hey, what we're doing is completely wrong. The fact that it works at all is an accident for every other vendor. By the OpenXR standard, version 1 of OpenXR Toolkit should have not worked on any headset at all.
Oh, right.
The fact that it worked on Oculus, Windows Mixed Reality was an accident because there was a bug that was so glaringly huge.
Yeah.
And yeah, only Varjo was being very strict about this behavior.
Yeah.
And yeah, when we were talking for hours, we finally found that one line of log, and I was like, that rings a bell.
Yeah, I remember the log. It was a long log, actually. Lots of lines in the log. Yeah.
As I said earlier, I can't be lazy with this stuff. So you were the one who were like counter lazy because I kept saying, no, I will not look at the Varjo log because I'm too lazy to go and do that. So I'm glad that you took the step here to do that, and we found a solution. It's pretty cool.
See, it's that collaboration again, isn't it, between you guys? Like, you know, like Jean-Luc is strong at that, so he'd find that that problem, right?
Actually, we have a good synergy, I find, and
you know,
it's very exciting, actually. You know, all those technologies are from if you're technically savvy, if you're into that. Those technology are really attracting you, enticing.
Okay, I see.
You want to explore, and they give you a lot. They give you back a lot. Those technologies and environment give you back a lot as someone technically inclined to learn those things.
So it's actually fun for you, isn't it? It's like you get a lot of enjoyment.
A lot of enjoyment. You start to dive and actually go full in. Actually,
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
But these are also
you have no idea how many things we discussed with Matt, actually.
I can imagine
all the things, brainstorming ideas, crazy ideas we have. Of things we can do, and new things you have not seen yet that we're planning to add too.
Nice, exciting. Okay, so what about like how do you get inspired to pick up features to add? Do you see what I mean? Like how do you get an idea, or like how do you get inspired to add a new feature to the OpenXR Toolkit?
I would say a lot of feedback comes from the user first. The end user, hey, what about this? What about that? And Matt said that he learned about FSR through a user comment. But that's true. Because I can relate that to Reality XP, my experience in my own business, Reality XP. The user, the customer, the end user, is the person, is most often than not the person telling you exactly what they wanted to have in your product. Yeah. And it has been a driving force for XP to get that feedback, to nurture that feedback, and to implement the features that were required or needed by our customers, and to take upon us the challenge to implement those features, even though they were probably considered not even possible. I remember 15 years ago, it's a long time already, actually. 15 years ago, Reality XP has been the first company, and probably the sole one so far, even today, to release the first working weather radar for flight simulator.
Oh, okay.
That weather radar was actually working with the actual 3D clouds in the simulator. So the picture you got was really in sync with the actual weather condition you get at the time in the simulator. We're not talking about clouds like you have today, obviously, but graphics were poor. But nevertheless, all the other weather radar were based on taking a MEDAR information from an airport and trying to derive an image from that plausible image. The reality XP radar was actually matching exactly the condition you could see outside the windshield. So this is a challenge. This is something damn impossible to do at the time. And we did it 15 years ago. And that's a driving force. And that's a driving force in all the Reality products. And actually, that's also a driving force in OpenXR Toolkit, because people ask things, you could think it's impossible to do, not doable. And actually, Matt has crazy ideas too, and I do have crazy ideas, and what a challenge! Let's try that. And so far so good. Actually, very few experiments we did actually failed. Most of the things were started to implement into OpenXR Toolkit ended up in a feature that user can actually see or use.
Oh, okay. So that's how it starts, right? So you guys are like back and forth with ideas, possibilities, and then something opens up, and then you think, okay, we can make a feature out of that, right? Kind of.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I was saying for the controller eye tracking, it could be a feature. Actually, it started as a tool for us for development, but actually, we developed the idea that probably could be something usable in practice.
Yeah, cool.
And so that's from our brainstorming, but from users. Users are feeding us a lot of information, and we're very thankful for the engagement. It's tremendous, both for feedback, beta testing, everything. You are fantastic, actually. Basically, our users are fantastic.
Yeah, that's great, because they know exactly what they need and what they want, right, in the sim. So
exactly,
communicating that with you, it helps you, doesn't it, a lot, by figuring out what they need to do. Yeah, cool. Okay.
I can tell you, at least the way I typically go about it when it comes to flight sim, is I literally go on the forum and I stare at the list. I sorted by the number of votes, like the feature requests in the VR section. And I think you can go and see there that the majority of the feature we have are from that want list, like the hand tracking, the feature rendering, the upscaling. One funny thing about it is that whenever you take that list and you sort it by vote and you sort of open the different links, 50% of the time you end up on a post from Jean-Luc.
He's always in there.
Like from 2 years ago. So it makes it easier, because then the source of knowledge is already there. And
that's great.
And I can tell you a little bit more about also my process when it comes to that. Every single day for the past 6 months, I spend I'm gonna say a solid 30 minutes, perhaps an hour, just typing OpenXR Toolkit in Google, a bunch of forums and things like that, Reddit, and I basically search for threads where people are talking about it, and whether they are having issues or they're suggesting something, or your videos as well as another one that I didn't mention, but I go and I take a look at the comments on your videos. And this is where of a lot of ideas for perhaps the smaller improvements kind of come from. Where I hear complaints, hey, I would like to have infinite timeout in the menu. I know
that one.
You go into Google OpenXR Toolkit and you find a bunch of kind of almost angry users oh, I can't use this menu, I need more time. I do that pretty much every day. It's just kind of dig. And with Open Composite now that's added more games, we have new source of input, because then I also Google this and I find new threads on IL2 forum and Aceto Corsa forum, and I just read the feedback. I just read what people want, what they're not happy with, try to see what we can do, again, it creates this connection with the community. I also end up responding to a lot of the messages. And Jean-Luc does the same too. Jean-Luc's very active on this AV Sim forum. I'm active on Reddit. answering questions and getting inspiration from them.
Yeah.
From these questions. So yeah, we want to keep the user happy. We also want to find like fun ideas.
Yeah. So you're basically, you're basically always researching, aren't you? You're always on the lookout for information about what you could add, how you could. Yeah, that's really cool. Very innovative.
If you look at my phone search history, you'll find like, hey, this guy's like Googling himself like every day or something.
OpenXR Matt.
Because if you just type OpenXR or just like Toolkit or even OpenXR Toolkit, you find a bunch of things. So typically, I add like other keywords like But yeah, I have like tons of my history of search is full of OpenXR Toolkit Reddit, OpenXR Toolkit Flight Sim, OpenXR Toolkit finding the keywords, finding the threads. I also like use a translator a lot. I've read a lot of threads about OpenXR Toolkit in Polish, Russian, German, Japanese. I love this like translate feature because it lets me reach to even more of these forums that otherwise are in foreign language. French forum too. I don't need the
nice. No need for that one, right?
Lots of source from the community to figure out what we're gonna do next.
Okay, cool. So the community have often asked, is there a way to get rid of the shimmer in game? So the shimmer I'm talking about is the type of shimmer that you see in the near and far distance as you're flying. Is there any way to get rid of that shimmer?
The shimmering actually is a byproduct of the rendering. And there's different things you can do at the game engine to limit that or to tame or to control that. But so you can go only so far. So we have explored with that different ways, actually. What can we do about that? Is there anything we can do about that? And to think about different ways, actually, we can try to limit or address that. And I will say the bulk of it will rather be corrected in game and finding techniques in game to limit that. In VR with the OpenXR Toolkit, yes, I can say there are things we can do to tame that, and we're working on it. Now, to what point we're going to tame it, how good will it be in the end, I don't know yet, but it will help. It certainly will help. So I hope we'll be able to show that to everyone soon enough, actually.
Okay.
The problem of the shimmering is due to the rendering technology they're using. One of the problems is that for optimization purposes, they are taking some shortcuts, and those shortcuts are producing this shimmering as a byproduct. There are ways actually to limit that, different stages of the rendering engine. But everything you add to tame it probably would take a little bit of performance off. So it's a balance.
It's always a balance, isn't it?
Always.
Always
but there are things things can be done though for limiting that tremendously, not being as distracting as it is today. Without taking a lot of performance.
Sure.
So we can address some of it in VR. In OpenXR Toolkit, we can address some of it. With inventive way of in thinking outside the box, actually.
Okay, so there are always.
That's what we are doing.
Okay, cool. So a lot of the community have been asking about how they can donate to the team in terms of supporting you for the OpenXR Toolkit. So what are the ways that people can help to donate and contribute?
I do hear this question often as well. We get a bunch of comments on the Discord and the forum with Jean-Luc. There's several ways that the community can help us, but none of them I would say is like a monetary donation. Like we don't want to go down that path. As we've said already multiple times, like, hey, we do this for fun. We do this because we love the technology. We're super happy that end users actually enjoy this and they can do something useful out of it. I think it's one of the best reward to say that we've spent some time on something, people are happier because of it. Did that. So I think this is always kind of a great reward already. In terms of contributions that people can do, I would say, first off, being active in the community when it comes to OpenXR Toolkit is always really great. I love the fact that you can go on like the forum or Discord. Some people are going to come up with questions and problems, and other folks now are comfortable jumping in. Hey, have you tried this particular setting, or have you tried to change this or to reinstall? And you know, so people in the community are really providing a great deal of help through helping each other and relieving some of that load from Jean-Luc and I. So that's great, and I want to encourage people to continue to do that. Certainly also want to encourage people to continue to talk about OpenXR Toolkit and tell everybody else who doesn't know about it, hey, go and use this cool tool, and you know, like kind of grow our user base. And I'm trying to think of other ways. Oh,
I agree.
yes.
That's the best reward. The user feedback is the greatest reward actually we get from doing what we do. It's encouraging. It's invigorating. It's really. Selfishly, I will say, probably it's gratifying, but it's gratifying for the good reasons. For the reasons that we help people making a better experience of their VR experience, and that's what matters. That we're so passionate with that technology beyond our job, actually, our regular, our day-to-day, we say. Reality XP has nothing to do with VR in itself. Matt's job has to do with VR in itself, but regardless, we're passionate about that technology, and that's for the sake of it that we're doing it for really.
One thing that I'm very passionate about, and that the community can help with, is, in case you can't tell, I'm very passionate about OpenXR, because you know it's my job, and I lead a great team at Microsoft who's dedicating all of their time every day to it. So raising awareness about it is also a great reward, and there are tons of things that the community can actually do about that. This is what I wish, as you know, as a member of the community of AR and VR, is I wish for more developers to start using OpenXR in their upcoming titles. And honestly, one of the best contribution that people can do around is spread that awareness. Go and tell the developer, hey, look, these games are using OpenXR and they run great. We want you to include OpenXR in your next title. And I think that just this type of feedback the community can go and give developers, bring more applications to OpenXR, bring more application then to OpenXR Toolkit as well, more application that can make use of it, to me is a great way that everybody can easily contribute, make some noise about how awesome it is, and you know, make sure that developers are aware of what the community wants, and the community wants to switch to OpenXR. So go that way, spend some time, get in touch with us, get in touch with the Chronos group, who's the working group that's orchestrate OpenXR. Get in touch with developers like me, working for, you know, some of the vendors. Tell us what you want, and we'll make OpenXR better, and we'll continue to improve it. But yeah, people reaching out and really pushing the developers to OpenXR is a great way that you can donate some of your time and investment and effort.
Great. Yeah, the community is so important in this, isn't it, really? And it's great that you've sort of reiterated this. And so, yeah, guys, definitely what they're saying, you know, if you've got things to offer, to add, keep giving your feedback, because it really does help the whole process. And I think people feel like a bit of ownership towards it as well, you know, like, oh, we're kind of part of the team too, right? Like, we're users for this, and we're giving our feedback, and then you're listening to us, and they interact with you on the forums, on the videos, you know, and all kinds of platforms. So I think it's really good that the community have that kind of ownership as well. I think they feel that, you know. I do as a user, as a VR user. I feel like, cool, I wanted to try this. I'll give my bit of feedback, and I think it's really a good way of working. Includes a lot of everyone. So, yeah. Do you have any plans to expand the game library for OpenXR Toolkit?
So expanding the game library is kind of not something that we can really do too much about. OpenXR Toolkit is a piece of software that goes between a game and your operating system, but specifically the OpenXR part of your operating system. And if a game does not speak OpenXR, then you can't use OpenXR Toolkit with it. Anyway, now I mentioned earlier some efforts like Open Composite, which are bringing more applications to OpenXR. And this is great because this is how the game library using OpenXR is expanded. And as those games using OpenXR, they can start using OpenXR Toolkit as well. But really, it's going to be up to developers to adopt the technology, start using OpenXR when creating new games so that OpenXR Toolkit will run on them. There is still one difficulty is that, well, OpenXR is done in a way that is outside of each game. It has to rely on tricks. It has to rely on things that can be a little bit fragile and that might not perfectly work for every single game. So what we can do with Jean-Luc, but it's also very time consuming, is try to ensure that most of the games that will use OpenXR or Open Composite will work with OpenXR Toolkit, start fixing some of these bugs that are due to games doing things slightly differently. And we've done that starting actually release 1.1.2, so the one that came out like a couple of weeks ago. We started fixing some of the known issue that users were having. Hey, can't run Assetto Corsa Competition with it. Or hey, if I turn on upscaling in DCS, it crashes. These are all like very specific to certain apps. And now, fortunately, what happens is whenever we fix a bug like this for one app, typically other apps also benefit from it. But it is still very time consuming. We have to go and debug exactly what's going on. We have to go and buy the app or find a way to get representative logs from the user. So it can be time consuming, but in expanding the game library, developers need to support OpenXR, and then we need to address the bugs of OpenXR Toolkit as they come, is the best we can do.
Okay.
I may expand on that. Actually, I found that something, I don't know for you, Matt, but looking at those bugs or issues sometimes with this or that game and the OpenXR API is also a very good indication of the level of understanding of the API different game implementers have. Actually, I personally discovered the OpenXR API in detail, starting with that project. Obviously, I knew about the API before, but I never really spent any time on it, developing on it. So, and what's visible to me is that depending on the game or the application, the level of knowledge, actually, it was one of the first thing I told Matt about OpenXR is that documentation is lacking. The API is not documented enough for a developer wanting to get into it as easily. I was facing actually some understanding issue on the API itself. So I imagine it could be difficult for a game or app developer to implement OpenXR from the day to the next. And those issues sometimes we have, or that users tell us, sometimes show probably avenues of where OpenXR could do better or augment or enhance the API sometimes for doing things that for now couldn't be done as easily. So probably it's interesting feedback that for the cross group actually through those implementations struggles we face sometimes.
Okay.
That's a point that's been brought up before. So there is a very extensive piece of documentation of OpenXR, the OpenXR specification, but it is targeted for people like me who implement OpenXR runtimes for operating systems. As a developer who writes games, you can still get a lot of that documentation, but it does require more efforts and it's not as straightforward. So I hear your feedback here. This is something that my team at Microsoft is really trying to be active on. And the Chronos group is also developing new efforts internally to start addressing some of these issues through, like new documentation formats and releasing new samples that will show developers how to do things with OpenXR. So yeah, I hear your feedback. I think it's a really good piece of feedback, and it's being addressed. We're working on it. Not an OpenXR Toolkit thing, but OpenXR in the Chronos group in general is something we're working on. Yes.
So, what features do you plan to add in the future for Microsoft Flight Simulator?
Actually, that's a very good question, and because people often come from the flight sim world and solicit us from their experience with Flight Simulator. It just happened that Flight Simulator was the major AAA game using OpenXR, on which OpenXR Toolkit was providing a lot of performance improvements. The OpenXR Toolkit is not developed specifically for Flight Simulator. It is first and foremost developed for OpenXR. So any game, any app we're considering in terms of compatibility much more than feature set. So that's very good, because the community of Flight Simulator has been grateful and very helpful in helping us developing the first features and implementations. But a lot of games actually are transitioning or switching to OpenXR, and we get increasing number of requests for DCS, for example, and other racing games, and maybe Beat Saber stuff one day, I don't know. And so yeah, there's increasing demand for other types of games and than Flight Simulator. And so OpenXR, so often we get a question or feedback that, hey, can you add a shortcut that if we use that shortcut, we can activate that feature in Flight Simulator? But it's unrelated. It's really unrelated.
Yeah, I think generally there will be quality of life improvements coming, and this has been the focus of a lot of our smaller releases since hey, how can we address some of the simpler usability issues, but then in terms of feature I think we want to explore the feasibility of some of the big requests we've had. We want to explore, hey, can we provide an alternative solution for motion compensation? A lot of people are telling us that, hey, they're moving to OpenXR, they're losing the motion compensation. So we're going to start investigating how feasible this is. Challenge with this one is there's this already pretty big installed OVR MC ecosystem, and as OpenXR Toolkit, we have to find kind of a way to either integrate to this ecosystem or provide something that's minimally sufficient to achieve the same thing. And that's probably a challenge because OVRMC is not our project. So yeah, we need to see what we can do on that front. But it's definitely one of the big requests that's been ramping up. One more thing is I've received Pimax headset this week, so I'm really excited now to see, hey, is there anything more that I can do to help provide better experience for Pimax? And in terms again of also improving experience, well, the feature that started it all, the hand tracking, has been kind of left out for a little too long. And one reason for that is that it's honestly it's the hardest feature in my opinion in the whole toolkit. Upscaling and foveated rendering, this is us taking some existing technology, putting it into the product. It's pretty algorithmic to do. It's pretty straightforward. Sure, there's challenges with optimizations and how to well integrate it, but at least it's fairly known things. The hand tracking, it touches many of the problems that have to do with user experience, and doing that without the support of the game is making it even harder. And that's why this feature, it's probably the hardest one to get right. And been too busy so far with some of the high demand performance issues to really spend a lot of time on hand tracking. So I'm hoping to be able that we spend some more time on it. I'm starting to see more user who are starting to use it. And I know actually somebody even asked you the question, Chris, like, hey, where's the hand tracking going? I don't know. This is one of those, again, this is an exploration. I'm glad we did it because, again, if there was no hand tracking, there would probably be no OpenXR Toolkit today. So it's great, but yeah, it's a very, very hard one to push through the finish line. So yeah, these are some of the things I hope we'll spend some time on.
Speaking of hand tracking, there's one I wanted to try as well, an experiment a long time ago, didn't have time yet, is that HTC also provide a SDK and library for hand tracking, which is working with the embedded Valve Index camera, for example, or any HTC Vive device with cameras. And this is an alternative one to explore as well in future, probably. So I wanted to wait actually, because like Matt said, it's a very complex features and we're not done yet on hand tracking, and it has a lot of improvements to we're exploring. But once we settle our hand tracking implementation to something more, we're more comfortable with, probably that we will expand looking at those additional hand tracking device or libraries for enabling more customers.
Okay.
And their headsets,
Yeah.
Because honestly, I don't have Ultralip, and I dreamt of being able to hand track with the Valve Index for quite some time.
Oh, right. Okay,
and,
so it's like a...
Yeah, but that is a personal need.
Yeah, definitely. First, okay, so you're excited about that. Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
On top of that, we're still exploring on, like Matt said, enhancing the quality, whatever we can do on the shaders, the pixel, etc.
Yeah.
And now that thanks to the help of Varjo, and this nice Aero headset here, it helps me seeing exactly what the results of what we do, actually, the process we're pushing the pixel through, and how does it look in the headset itself. It's very important. And one such feature I'm working on is with the eye tracking, gaze tracking for weighted rendering, you have this inner circle with high resolution, and all around it's low resolution on purpose. The problem is that on some, if you have a high contrast, like a screen or something, you start to see flickering all around the view. So usually you push the outer circle a little bit farther away to limit that flickering on the peripheral vision, but that defeats the purpose, because the purpose is to narrow as much as possible the resolution, because otherwise your eye cannot see the details, cannot see the difference. So what I'm working on is algorithms to reduce or eliminate the flicker, the peripheral flicker, so that you can reduce even further the rings and get even more performance without any visual distractions. So that's Varjo help in landing a headset for that is paramount to being able to just explore that feature.
Yeah, that's great. So that's really useful that you've got that, isn't it? So can you tell us about some of the fun anecdotes?
The first one I would say is that's the first time I'm we're face to face with Matt, actually. We have been in contact for 6 months, talked once on the phone, but never met each other. And that's the first time. That's really kind of fun to see each other today. And thank you for making that opportunity, basically. We haven't even thought about doing a video meeting just as two before. So that's good. But there is one more, actually, and the story doesn't stop there. The first time I contacted, actually, or close to the first time I contacted Mathieu, we were exchanging about our past experience. Where do you come from? What school did you make? Etc. So I was talking about my own past, starting with my studies, and I said, I started as a computer engineer studies in Paris. The school is named CptLucky, and he stops me right off the bat. I said, what? And it was kind of, what did I say,
Yeah.
And I said something.
Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, it was kind of we didn't know as much, each other at the time. So, the funny thing is that we went, both of us, to the same school.
France.
In France.
That's unbelievable, isn't it? That's amazing.
What are the odds?
That is such a coincidence, isn't it? Think about that. That's crazy. So your paths are meant to cross then, right? Surely.
Somehow.
Somehow, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's actually, it took a little while for us to get to talk about this. I think I remember precisely when this happened. And we talked about it before in a previous question. We were debugging the AMD bug. It was a very busy day. We were like really hard focusing on how to fix this AMD issue for like on the day one release. And we're like writing code like super fast and investigating what to do. And I think out of nowhere, we start like diverging and chatting, and you bring up this epitide. Like, I remember just like stopping everything. I was like, this is not possible. we can't possibly have gone to the same school in the same country and be like, so far away from home, and end up working on the same project together. It was really, really incredible coincidence.
Yeah, that's funny, isn't it? Amazing. That's brilliant.
Yeah, really funny.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that one.
One other that I can share too is that OpenXR Toolkit is providing similar functionality to another project that a lot of you probably have heard of, which is called VRPerfKit. Or actually, VRPerfKit started before us, OpenVR FSR and OpenVR Foveated. And VRPerfKit, which is a combination of Friedrich tools, ended up starting within a week of when we started OpenXR Toolkit. If you go and take a look at the GitHub from, so Friedrich is the developer behind VRPerfKit. We started within a week the GitHub repository for VRPerfKit and for OpenXR Toolkit. And at this point, we actually like interacted a few times, like emailing him like, hey, we're doing something similar. Let's chat sometime. And indeed, we've talked together a few times. We've exchanged some ideas. He was telling me about some of the features that he implemented. When we had this eureka moment in Flight Sim for the foveated rendering, I don't know if you remember that, Jean-Luc, but to switch the vertical to horizontal resolution, it was an incredible change in Flight Simulator. The quality was so much better. You know what? The moment before we even implemented and delivered that change to the users, I went to talk to Friedrich and I told him, hey, look, this is what we found in OpenXR Toolkit. You probably want to make the same change in VRPerfKit because your user will be very happy with this. And similarly, so we've had really great interaction with Friedrich, really awesome developer, and really impressive work he's done on the VRPerfKit. And we've even like got inspired also from his code. There's a few bits in our OpenXR Toolkit where we looked at some of his code and see how he did some of the things, and included some of that for some of our features. So yeah, really great collaboration there too.
Yeah.
One really cool thing that happened early on during development of OpenXR Toolkit is, as we were about to create like a bigger project, and based on what happened with the NIS scaler and the popularity, I told myself, hey, we really need to have like an image. We really need to have like a brand. We really need to have a logo. And I think I literally put a call out there on the forum. Hey, I'm looking for somebody who's willing to make a logo for our upcoming project. And there is this user on the forum. His alias is RP39. Is Oliver is his real name, and he came to me and said, hey, I'm interested in doing this. And we iterated also with Jean-Luc in the loop, few emails, and came up with the logo that you have today on our website, which we're really happy with. And so, thanks Oliver for the awesome work on the logo. And I'm glad that we have much better branding and identity through this logo. And
it's a great logo.
Yeah,
it's a great logo. I work with it all the time. Obviously, with the videos you gave it. And when I first saw it, I was like, "Wow, impressive!" You know, it's a really nice logo.
Hey, it's done an awesome job.
Yeah, nice.
One more thing that happens regularly is people come to us with more than just the intention of reporting bugs or asking for features, but they want to help. We had somebody from the Flight Sim forum. His handle is FarFutureFox. His real name is Andrew, and he's a great designer of user experience. And he came to us and told us, "Hey, I can help you improve the usability of your software. I can help you make like a better user interface." And this is why actually you see there's a drastic change between the first beta of OpenXR Toolkit and the thing that you have today. Is that the first beta was Jean-Luc and I kind of messing around, not knowing what we do. And what you have today is actually we had design review and a lot of back and forth with Andrew to help with the user experience and make it much better. And also a difficult job for Andrew because we gave him very, very strict constraints on things that we did not want to do, things that I'm too lazy again to do. And that limited, the amount of like eye candy you can put around the menu and interaction. But he's been super understanding of our time. And we still, I'm very happy with the menu we have today, thanks to all of his input. Things down to, Andrew is very, very detail oriented. He comes to me with things like, "Hey, the color is off by like value of 2." And every time I see this request, I'm like, "Oh, okay, all right." And then I do it, I'm like, "Oh, you know what? This is actually much better."
It's better, right? Yeah.
It doesn't look like much, but yeah, I just changed 2 bits, and it's actually much better. So yeah, really, really great designer, and very happy to have him on board for this project. Another really fun aspect of working on OpenXR Toolkit is working closely with our private group of beta testers. In the first versions of OpenXR Toolkit, it was Jean-Luc and I were doing all of the testing, and it quickly became very hard to manage because there were so many features and then so many hardware that we did not have. And this is when we started looking at community. We've had a few users that really went above and beyond in reporting the issues that they were facing and in helping us to resolve them. And so when came time for us to think more thoroughly, hey, how do we use our time for development and not spend like days and days of testing before each release, we decided to go and reach out to some of the folks in the community that had helped us before, and we formed this official beta tester group where we have all kinds of folks with different hardware in this group. It's not a big group, it's like less than 10 people, but it's folks that do a really good job at finding bugs, reporting them with an excellent level of detail, so that we push releases to them like internally more often than we push the actual releases out. And they always like jump on it and tell us what's good and what's not good. And yeah, they give us like a really good level of detail. Even had some of the folks in this group proposing code changes to us because they have like a little bit of development experience.
Okay.
So yeah, occasionally like, hey, this is probably one way you can change it. Like again, deeper than just reporting issues, like being really involved in the quality of the product. So we're really happy with this group of beta tester, and really want to thank them for all the work and the help that they're giving us.
Actually, we did have a very profound technology we wanted to introduce by the 1st of April, but we fell short actually presenting it. So
okay.
Not sure.
Are you talking
I'm
about
talking about the one for the 1st of April. You remember the AI augmented rendering?
Oh, the 1st of April one.
But the 1st of April one sounds a bit suspect, no?
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we were talking, what did we call this? Like the the super duper resolution AI that we made up.
For first of all,
a couple
nice.
of people really wanted to know about it. A couple of people were like, "Oh, this is awesome! Is it gonna work with my GPU?"
Yeah, please tell me more. Tell me more. That's funny. Okay. So I'd like to thank both of you for today. It's been an amazing experience talking and learning about the OpenXR Toolkit, about how it came about how you guys work together collaboratively and with other people. It's been really, really exciting to hear about it. I know a lot of my subscribers are really keen to get as much information as they can about this amazing tool. So thanks so much. I really do hope that it gives people the opportunity to understand how you guys, how much work is involved with it, and also how, what you can do for the community. And it's thanks so much, and I really appreciate your time today talking about it, and it's been a pleasure. So thank you both.
Chris, the pleasure is ours, and I thank you very much actually for inviting us on your channel for this interview. It's fantastic to be able to reach out and to share with you all those stories and details, and we were somewhat dying actually to share those stories as well, a little bit behind the scene. And we're really thankful actually for all the feedback and the support we get for the OpenXR Toolkit, and it's been a fantastic journey so far, and it's not ended yet. We're so much ahead. We're still exploring. And
yeah, lots to look forward to.
With you and with you all for a long time to come.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Yeah, you took some of the words I was going to use. I was going to say great journey so far, and more to come.
Yeah.
But I'm super glad we
boldly go where no one has gone before. But
yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. No, pretty much. Definitely took Flight Sim 2020 to a level that it has not done before, and really proud of that, and really excited with future collaborations. And yeah, I'm glad we get to do this video. I'm glad that we're showing more to the community what's going on behind the scenes and the collaboration, and really want to thank everybody for their support, and making this a fun journey, and yeah, really looking forward to what else we're going to do, and what other projects we're going to have, and where else we can go and contribute. This will be really fun. So yeah, thanks again, and we'll see you on our website, on Discord, on the Flight Sim forum, to get more of these great ideas that we talked about, and this great feedback that we can then turn into real changes for the community.
Thank you. It was a real pleasure talking to both Matt and Jean-Luc about this amazing tool, and I hope this helps give you an idea of just how useful the OpenXR Toolkit is when flying in VR. So stay tuned for all the latest updates, and subscribe for more videos coming soon. As always, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I look forward to making the next one soon. In the meantime, as always, take care and stay safe.